Okay. Thank you everyone again for joining today's ICAI Artist Talk. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the land we stand on and call as our home. ICAI acknowledges that we stand on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot and the people of Treaty 7 region, which includes Siksika, the Piikani, the Kana, the Tsuut'ina, and the Stoney Nakoda First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. For people who are new to ICAI, let me briefly tell you who we are and what we do. The Immigrant Council for Arts Innovation, ICAI, is an arts council based in Calgary, Alberta. The council was founded in January 2019 with the express purpose of connecting immigrant and newcomer artists, arts administrators, and culture workers to the existing arts community in Calgary. ICAI actively encourages diversity of expression and culture through the creation of a safe and welcoming community where newcomer and immigrant art workers feel confident to share their work and distinct cultural identities. Our mission is to connect, empower, and advocate for immigrant and newcomer arts and culture workers. Our vision is to transform the arts community through opportunities designed for immigrant arts and culture workers. Our values are that we work for equity, diversity, and inclusion. What drives us is creativity, passion, kindness, and inspiration. Through relationships, we build community. What we do, we provide specialized information and resources for newcomer and immigrant arts and culture workers. We create free, inclusive, and tailored programs and networking opportunities. We provide support and mentorship for artistic growth and professional development. We advocate for immigrant arts and culture workers to have safe spaces and opportunities by educating the arts community on how to make their spaces inclusive for newcomer arts workers. We do have our different programs. We have 2 mentorship programs, IAMP, which has already completed 2 seasons or 2 cohorts, and we're going to have the 3rd one soon. And the second one is our newly launched Mentors in Residence program. We award Artist of the Month every month to support a newcomer immigrant artist. We have certain number of exhibitions and performances yearly. We also hold workshops and networking events. And of course, artist talks. Now, when you become a member of ICAI, you're joining an organization that connects you to information, opportunities, resources, and programs available to you as an immigrant or newcomer, and as an artist, arts administrator, creative professional, or arts and culture worker. Membership is absolutely free. Please, if you want to become a member, please go to www.icai.online.org and fill out our membership form. If there are any questions, reach out to me. My name is Smitha Rose Vargas, like introduced, and my email address is programs@icai.online.org. Now, let me introduce the star of tonight, Santosh Korthiwada. Santosh is a Calgary-based award-winning fine art photographer and educator who likes to explore the ordinary and everyday subject matter. Santosh did MFA at Academy of Art University, San Francisco, and several galleries and exhibitions featured his work across Asia, Australia, Europe, and North America. He writes, teaches, and conducts workshops and visual storytelling. He also currently has an exhibition. I'm sure he's going to talk about it. Before I pass on to Santosh, a few housekeeping. Please stay on mute unless you're talking or asking any questions. Please feel free to go video off if that's how you're comfortable. To ask any questions, either use raise hand option or leave questions and comments on the chat. Santosh will be addressing all the questions after his talk, so we'll have a Q&A towards the end of the talk. I'll keep an eye on the chat and note down any questions that you put on there, and I'll make sure I'll pass it on to Santosh when we open the Q&A. Over to you, Santosh. I'm just going to stop the screen share here, and I'll pass that to you.
All right. Thank you, Smita. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Let me just share the screen first. I hope you can all see the screen now. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today for this artist talk. I couldn't believe it was the first artist talk for the year, Smita. So to begin with, I would like to thank and bow down to the land that I came from. I would like to bow to the land that I'm in right now, and I would like to bow to the land that I'm going to go at the end. And thank you again, for joining me. So today, it's just an honor to share some of the stories that I have experienced and that I'm living through right now with all of you. So this is me in pursuit of meaning and sharing other stories that I have gathered, created, shared, heard, and lived. So this is on the left of the screen. That's my grandfather and grandmother. Both of them passed on when I was in 8th grade, maybe. And to the right, that's my father and mother. And that little one is me, much better me. And my mom passed on when it was peak COVID time, and unfortunately, I couldn't go to India. It was too much of a hassle with immigration, and my father was, he just asked us to stay put and pray from here. So these folks are perhaps they are the most important in my life, and especially the woman on the left with the round glasses. That's my grandmother, who took care of me, and who shared so many stories with me. And she was very strict, by the way. But she was just a lovable woman. And you know what? To come to think of it, I haven't seen her smile really. Like she was always had that, calm look on her face, but never really smiled. I wonder why. So yeah, this is my home, the home I grew up. Um, and for whatever reason, right from my childhood, it always looked the same. There was absolutely no difference, trees in the backyard. And that's basically, I think this is I took these pictures when my son was quite young. And front we had some space, in the back some space, guava plant, a tree, and lots of flower trees. And then I used to just play at home, run around. And this is the place that's home, and I dearly miss it. And my father is currently living there. And the village I grew up in, it's the name of the village is Chegunta. It's a South Indian village. Like many villages, it's a very typical South Indian village. And most villages almost look the same, but there is a particular affinity that I have with this village. And this was my mom making rangoli on the floor, and my son was intrigued by the way she was making rangoli. And a lot of Hindu women every day morning, um, they do these rangolis in front of their home. Basically, it's a sign of welcome to the guests, and it's just beautiful tradition. And like all the villages, my village too was pretty chaotic. There are things everywhere. It was quite small, but a lot of chaotic elements to it. But I found beauty in the same, nevertheless. So as a child, when I was growing up, I didn't get into photography directly. It was drawing and painting, and not much of studies that got me into photography later on. But it's mainly, I found drawing to be, the main source of creative expression that I used to have. I think that kind of created a base for, future creative endeavors. And yeah, like Smita mentioned in the introduction, I like the everyday. I like the everyday scenes around me. I try to find something beautiful, something different, something so normal, but that we might just forget to look again. I tried to find something there, and then capture some of these moments, very quiet moments, and very hardworking people in my village. Lots of working folk, from carpenters to steel workers to lots of trades that go on in my village. So yeah, I think you can round that entire village in like 20 minutes. Not now, maybe, but that was possible back then. And this was the everyday thing where the moms take their newborns, give them a nice bath. They sit outside their homes and powder them up. And if you notice, there are black bindis, we call it, and there is one on the cheek too. So traditionally, it is believed that um, these black bindis are to ward off evil spirits. That's a beautiful belief that moms have. It's like they want their children to be safe, and and I, how can I resist myself from not capturing a moment like that? And like many villages, even we had our own beliefs, we had our own superstitions, and those are the those are at the core of any village that you go travel across in India. So these um, little bags are basically wishes of people. They want something, so this is the wall of a temple, and they take a coconut and pray to the coconut, and then make a wish, and tie it to the and the wall of the temple. And when the wish comes true, they come back and they must identify which bag is theirs. Technically, they have to take it off, offer the coconut to the god or the goddess, and then offer their prayers that, hey, thank you, so on and so forth. And this is one of those traditions, and that still goes on. It's an age-old, ancient tradition. This was the school that I went, that I studied. Very small school with a big ground in front, and as you can see, the kids there are playing cricket. That's what I used to do most of the time with my friends. Studies were never really, for whatever reason, it never got into my head, especially math. Um, And that's the window that I used to sit and look through. And now there is a wall outside, but it used to be fields, and I used to see a lone street light out of that window. And instead of focusing on the teachers that are writing and talking, I used to just stare through that window to see that lone street light. And I used to imagine things, stories, and have conversations with that lone street light. And it was perhaps the best time I had during the school. Yeah, this is not the exact street light, but I made a series of street lights, about 400, 500 pictures of just street lights, as an ode to my conversations with these street lights. And yeah, this is me, one of the last remaining photographs of myself. As you can notice, I used to cut. Uh, I used to take pictures from my family album, cut them up, and put them on other interesting colorful backgrounds, because I never really liked the studio backgrounds in my family photos. My dad caught me doing this once, and then I had a good spanking that day. I'll never forget that. But I think this was my first attempt at collage without knowing anything, without really knowing what's a collage or what's art. I used to draw, but this was the form. I think it was just, my way of doing something creative. All right. Then next, yeah, I think I picked up my camera, my first camera, maybe an undergrad in 1995. And my friend had this camera with him, his grandfather's, and it was never used. It was a Yashica, dusty. We didn't even know it was working. So he said, "Hey, I feel like I'm taking pictures." And he said, "Hey, I have this old camera." And then we bought that camera, went to studio, and fortunately the film rolls were still on during that time, so we bought a black and white roll that was the cheapest. And I think that roll also was an expired roll. I think it was at the end, reaching its end, film. Not completely, but yeah, yeah. This is my first attempt at some of those pictures of friends. And I used to go around during the weekends and take pictures uh, of the villages around. And that's still one of my favorites, is to travel around, go into different villages, the villages that are similar to my village, but they have their own character. And every state in India has a different feel, different culture, different language, different food. So it always used to excite me to travel around. And the photography combined with travel, I think that was a fantastic combination for me. And used to really light me up on these trips. And I was a completely different person, just very happy. I'm still happy. Don't take me, don't get me wrong, but I'm just a slightly different storyteller than I used to be. But yeah, this was absolutely like completely free, no obligations, no expectation of taking a really good picture or anything. And because it's film, first of all, it takes time to finish that, and then it takes another 3 or 4 months, when I remember going to the studio and then looking at those pictures. So it used to be a very long process. I don't know how the younger generation now, it's take 2000 pictures and selfies and whatever, and immediate results. And it's a lot. If you don't like one, and then make a different face, and then take a different one, and you immediately see it. I think there is a certain beauty in waiting to see the results of the pictures that you take. And if it is not immediate and you really don't know how it's going to come, yeah, it's you don't know that. I didn't know at that point that I could do good pictures. So I was not even confident. So I used to really like wait to see the results. And on the picture on the right, that is my friend who gave me the camera to play with, and I ruined that picture completely. So I don't know if I think I need to send this to him just to surprise him. And sometimes yes, I did manage to get some interesting pictures. Children, especially, when you go around, children see the camera and then they follow you around, and it's always fantastic interaction and conversation. It's like you're. So I was looking through this window to take a different picture, something that was outside. I was interested in these, this pattern, these holes in the old house, this window, and this kid showed up from nowhere all of a sudden, and I was like, oh, I have to take this picture, and it made it a little more interesting by him entering the frame. And yeah, I mean, I was a very, I'd say I didn't really care for the composition. As long as I could see some things in the frame, that little viewfinder, I used to click. But I was fortunate that people welcomed me when I took the when I made these pictures. When I took these pictures, they never really said anything. But of course, this was in a very interior village, and they were having a very intimate wedding at a temple, and they were completely shocked by my presence. I was like, who's this guy taking our picture? I wish I took their names at that time, and sent them a print of their picture. This was way back, maybe 1996. I don't know how many years. um, but I didn't know all that back then. But now I do, and I take names and send them the pictures and say thank you. But back then it was always, I was kind of in a rush, maybe. It's like, go take a picture, leave. Almost like a thief, I guess, snatching some moments or stealing some of these moments. And again, more villages, regular everyday life. I guess this is at my grandmother's village. Went around during the Sunday market and took pictures of people, and I don't remember any instance where people were not welcoming or not happy with me being around or taking pictures, and not knowing why someone is taking a picture or not knowing where it's going to end up. And the privacy, the idea of privacy was quite different back then. There is a little more awareness, and what are you going to do with the picture? First of all, asking people their permission before taking a picture. So a lot has changed since then. But I wouldn't be here talking to you if not for all these people who let me into their lives, however small that moment was, and let me, make these pictures with them. And I did manage to go to some of these places even after 20 years, and fortunately could meet some of these people, and then give small prints, and as it's just amazing that they still remember that little moment, and they have a smile on their face. So it's if you are a photographer or an artist, and if you can do something like this, I think it personally changed my life and my view of other human beings when I started doing that. And it's just a little way of saying thank you to the people that who let you do this. So all those the things the pictures that I've shown, those are single pictures, go around, take snapshots, if I may use that word. I didn't even know what was a portrait, what was a snapshot, or anything like that. But I had this um, urge to create a story, make a series of pictures, from single pictures, make a series, create a story with the words and with pictures. So I met a friend who used to volunteer for a charity organization. I tagged along with him. There were different schools that charity used to support. So there was this school in the city of Vizag, in my province, Andhra Pradesh. Back then, and it was on the banks of the sea. We could see a beautiful place, but it was not an ordinary school. It was a school for children with vision challenges, and most of the children there were blind completely. And this was the first time, while doing this documentary sort of a project, that's when I knew or learned from them that there are different levels of blindness. It's not everyone is 100% blind. Some of them are 10, 20, 50, 70. Some of them can see an outline vaguely, or some of them can put a book or so close to their eye and they can still read stuff, and some of them are completely blind. Like this girl Sujata, she was not completely blind, but she knew that she was eventually going to be completely blind. Her left eye was blind, but her right eye was giving her trouble. So she could, when I asked her, she told me that she could see like a blurry outline when I was in front of her. I asked her, how do you see me? And she had this big beautiful smile, and she said, I can see the outline, and I can see that you're holding a camera. And so it's nice. And again, I had this wonderful opportunity to spend a few days in the school. Um, and these are some of the things that I noticed. I remembered my own school days. We didn't even have chairs and benches. We used to sit on the floor. 103 kids in one classroom, and it was noisy. But I saw it was interesting for me to see the way they held their feet. And whether it is they're nervous or they're thinking about something, it's almost like their personality. You can see a little bit of them in their feet, the way they held it, and especially the feet on the girl with the right side. It's almost like a dancer, a ballet pose while she sat there. um, and it was a beautiful place, and the overall environment was so lively, and it was my mind there was. It's like, how many of these people can really see how beautiful this place was? And they can feel the wind, and they can um, smell everything, and maybe a little bit of see that and taste the salt in the air. But God, I mean, like, I felt so fortunate to be able to see and capture these pictures, and be thankful for what I have in that moment. And children, again, their regular ways. Some of them had the hand stick, the walking stick. Some of them didn't. um, and some of them had like it seemed that they have absolutely normal eyes, but they're completely blind, and it was just intriguing and heartbreaking to see at the same time. And that the teachers there were incredible. All the adjectives that are related to incredible can be used for them. They're absolutely patient. Imagine teaching regular, normal, kids at school. And then, these children had even more greater challenges to see, to learn, to perceive. Tools were different. The way they used to arrange their room was different. Like every trunk, I was telling some of my friends recently that I wish I took a picture of, when the trunk is open, because everything has its own place, because to identify it easily, their toothbrush, their soap, their books, or, things had its own place. Everything, nothing was out of place there. Everything had to be kept, tidily and neatly, and that's how they managed. They used to, internally count the number of steps. And there was this kid, the twins actually, and he had albinism as well. And a lot of these children, they were abandoned by their parents, because they can't handle. First of all, they were blind. They were, not of any use if they don't have sight. They can't help them with farming or, with their household work. So this charity used to go around villages and then, find these abandoned children who were blind, and then, get them to the school, fully funded by different organizations. Not a lot of funds, but at least to give them a safe space. And he was playing with these animals, and he was telling stories, imagining stories. And this reminded me of myself, watching, looking out of the window and talking to the street light. And he was doing the same thing with these animals. Apparently all those animals um, went to see a movie, and one of them fell asleep, the one on the right side, and all the other animals were, enjoying the movie. So that was his story back then. And there was this teacher, um, Ragini, she is 100% blind, and she studied in this school, and her aim was to become a teacher and then teach other children who are like her, extraordinary people, uh, doing extraordinary things, but every day. And when you pass her on the street, you wouldn't even think that, what a great hero she is. And I was fortunate to meet some of them there. And little things as a photographer, I think you kind of, over a period of time, you develop a sense of noticing very little things, small things here and there. And when I saw this kid with his shoes, one of the shoe was missing lace, and the other one had, it was not tied properly. And for him, the protection from the rocks was more important, not the tidying. And I remember some of these, some instances where I was going to rushing to work, and my shoes had to be laced, tied properly, and all that. And I used to remember, I was like, "Oh, as long as that function is there, it just give me a different perspective." The kind of things that we fuss about, the kind of things where we, it's like, oh, I'm not wearing the right color, or my hair, one single hair is falling on my face, so it's a bad hair day, whatever. But when I saw and met these kids, I was like, some of the things have altered in me permanently, I guess. And as I was saying, they get very close to these books. I don't think you can notice it. There are words, and there is also braille scripted on it. So they use the tips of their fingers to go through and read it. And some of them had this little girl had a beautiful voice, and she was singing. And it was early in the morning. She was singing her heart out. And as a photographer there, it's difficult to remember sometimes that you have a camera, because you just become one of them, or just become a human and then try to be in that moment. And sometimes the camera actually disturbs the moment, takes the focus off. So again, I had to learn how to quickly get back into the moment after you're done with capturing uh, scenes like that. But no matter what they were going through, their spirit was extraordinary spirit, the extraordinary strength. And I think all the teachers combined, put together in my life, I think these kids taught me more in those few days about life, about myself. What should I be grateful for? So yeah, just absolutely fantastic children. And yeah, and I continued from that point of view. And there was another school where this was almost like a secluded school, completely outside the town, because this particular school was run for children with HIV. So there's a lot of stigma, and so they were kept outside, the regular community boundary, um, because of some of the fears that the locals have. But charities, fortunately, some charities were able to provide a home for them. And I went in, took. This is the first time I used flash, like very hard hitting flash, because I don't know, when I went to that place and I met these awesome people, I felt just the feeling I had was, like hard light on this dark place. And I was fortunate that they let me in for a very brief period of time, because my friend and they were the team was rushing me. I was like, we can't spend too much time. We have to go somewhere else. But I was like, oh no, please let me interact with them a little more. um, and this was their kitchen, like nothing, with very little supplies, but the whole of my stay, none of them really complained about anything. And they were just happy that someone else, some non-HIV person, came to visit them. And I felt really weird. It's like how lonely it can be. And I saw this timetable, from morning 5 to 9:30, and they follow the schedule. They're really good, and they do yoga, and everything has a specific time, and they play, they enjoy. And it was interesting that Lord Shiva, who's considered to be the Lord of destruction and Lord of death. The picture was there, but with a completely different quote. Love loves for the sake of itself. And it was jarring for me, because they, all of them, know if they're lucky they'll survive, but otherwise they're just waiting for an eventual end. And all of them had a separate locker to store their stuff. Unlike the school for the blind, this one were in lockers, because because of their extremely low immune system, they are prone to infection. So everyone had their own space, so that they don't spread it to others. So they were quite careful with whatever they had. And these lockers were technically bank lockers, but it was donated by a bank to them. And just their life, and everyone had their own place, their shoes kept. And he was very proud, and it's like, okay, I made that box, and this is where we store our shoes and slippers. And it's like, okay, stand next to your box, and be proud. And I had to capture that moment. And again, the spirit, I cannot tell you how infectious their smile was. And I controlled myself so much not to cry. when I took this shot, and when I was saying my byes to them. And I, as a photographer, as a human being, maybe I did not make too much of a difference in their life, but I was happy that I made them smile, even for a couple of seconds, and that was enough for me. And I did send them the pictures by post later, because I had to go travel, do something. So my love, so after some of these difficult projects, I used to go do some more travel, some more reflection, going to more villages, and then just calm down, and regular scenes in the villages. And I know that these kind of scenes are going to disappear, um, you know, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. I don't know when, but we won't be able to see this gritty, this absolutely natural, chaotic structures, but they call it their home. And this was a very small tribe, in a completely interior forest within India. And it was difficult to understand their language, although they were in my same province. But amazing people, and they let me walk around and capture some moments of their life. So children, my interest, and I developed interest in making portraits of people. Yeah, just sharing some of these places. Again, not too far from my place, but all it took was just taking some time off, going around on a bike, or joining a friend, and um, be um, attend some events, take some pictures. And by the way, when I used to show it to some of these pictures to a lot of photographers, more senior, etc., or going to competitions, and a lot of these pictures didn't really make it through, and they are very dear to me. But a lot of comments were like, this is almost a good photograph. This is almost, you're almost good. This is almost a good picture. I was like, okay, tell me if there is anything that I can improve. I'll keep working on it. But this is consistently, I used to hear that it's an almost good portrait. So, I started calling myself, I'm almost Santosh, not Santosh fully, but I'm almost Santosh. Okay. Um, and, from single pictures, I slowly started getting, I think my frame started becoming bigger, or my frame became expanded, if that I can use that word, because there were more people. I felt like I can do a little more. I can include a little more story, and again, travels and being there. These are traditional, and passed on from generation to generation. They dress up like tigers, and they do this uh, beautiful tiger dance at a specific festival, in front of a like a king, like a person. And the king says, claps, and gives them the money. It's these, some of these things are absolutely timeless. It's like maybe the same thing happened 400 years ago, 500 years ago, exactly the same. Maybe the way we dress might have changed, but some of these traditions continue. And my madness for photography kind of reached its peaks, because that year, I think it was 2013, I took almost like 4 months or 5 months off collectively throughout the year, to travel and to photograph everything that I can. And my wife said, I think you're going mad. You have to stop and figure out what you really want to do, because the only time I see you happy is when you have a camera in your hand, or when you're talking about pictures. And um, so what I did, like any responsible husband, is I quit my job. um, and she supported my this another crazy idea of, okay, I want to go to the US, do my master's. because I think I'm good, and I would like to hone this skill and get better and do go deep into this art and craft, or whatever you might call it. And for me, this is a language. Photography really truly is a language, which I use to express whatever is going on here and here. So San Francisco it was, and immediately I noticed that there was a shift in the way I was responding to my surroundings. I think I went into a little more experimentative mode. Picked up film again, although it was expensive. Even after a break of like 15 years, I picked up film. I was, I think, 36 when I started doing my master's. My wife and son back home in India, and I was in San Francisco, Academy of Art University, and um, I think that separation anxiety, or always questioning that, did I take the right decision? How dumb was it to just quit a well-paid job and follow this passion, madness, whatever you may call it? And what if I don't get to make it? What if nothing happens? And then I take some pictures and it's like, no, I think something can happen. So that dialogue always used to continue, and the things that I used to see there were quite different from what I was used to. Um, and I used to go quite far from people. I was not comfortable going very close, especially children. It's like, it was a big shock is, oh, I need to ask people permission to make these pictures. Oh my god, okay, is there a parent around? Whom can I ask? And sometimes I sneak pictures, but I learned a lot of these things when I was there. um, and maybe at some point, because there is no freedom, or I did not feel comfortable going to people and ask them and make the pictures, I think. And also I was going through a very, very contemplative phase, very, very reflective phase. So I think I started focusing on the surroundings more. And I noticed like normal mundane things, and then I pushed and I looked at, I used to look at, oh, this is interesting, or this leaf is interesting, or this little fold is interesting. And the things that I took for granted were more interesting to me than like trash and nonsense. um, I was photographing, and I think it started slightly getting darker. um, my thinking going deeper and questioning everything. It's like, what is life? What is death? And I think I went all in. I think I just jumped into the introspective waters, and then just drowned in those waters. And completely different approach to work, compared to these beautiful people and everyday scenes. And I started looking at the elements and the shapes, the figures, and what is that. Almost everything was kind of abstract. It had a meaning, but it didn't have a meaning. So I kept pushing, and uh, what came out of that is thousands and thousands of photographs of everyday things, and things that I created this series called Consciousness, because that's what was going on in my mind. And I made this 12 picture series, all of them diptychs. And it's like, okay, I have this thought, I have an opposing thought, let me bring them together to make a new narrative. And this particular series was pretty big in my career, and it traveled a lot of different places around the world, and was you know it inspired me to take more and more. And again, if you notice, like, no people. Very rarely I would take pictures of people. It's stuff that I walked all around San Francisco, or that was my favorite thing to do: walk, think, take pictures that I see. And about 500 pictures of abandoned shoes, and this is what I kept doing. And fortunately, when I had an opportunity to go home, visit my family once, and I think because of that contrasting experience in the US, when I came back to India, I think I started looking at India slightly differently. I didn't know why. I mean, I don't know how, what was different, but I think it was a little more intense. Um, my approach got, so the number of pictures I took became very, very less. Very rarely I used to take my camera out. Um, it's like it was there, but taking the pictures were getting, the number used to get smaller and smaller, and it became more and more intense. And this was in the holy city of Varanasi, where followed this elderly woman, and then she walked in, and I just sat there just to experience life. Um, she was walking so slowly, and I could feel my heartbeat with every step she was taking. Um, and I finally, when she came and she wore this red shawl, she was going back. She had 104 fever that day, and she was so fragile. And fortunately, I remembered that I had a camera, and I made this picture. And then thanks to her and our friends in that place, it was almost like a voluntary hospice. Because this holy city of Varanasi, a lot of Hindus go there to spend their final few days, to die there, because they think that, okay, it liberates them from this life death cycle. And I was there. I took the print, and I think the next time I went, and she was no more, and it was devastating. So I gave it to the caretaker, but some of our friends were still there, so I gave them their portraits. And felt like, sometimes photography is a responsibility. It's Nobody gave that responsibility to you, but it is a responsibility, because it feels heavy, and sometimes it makes you feel extremely light. Smita, how am I doing with time?
Ah, we were almost there. We just have 5 more minutes. I was
Okay.
wondering if people can put in questions. How do you want it?
Just I'll finish talking. Otherwise, I'll continue to talk for another 5 hours. So I'll stick to the time, go through the rest of the story quickly, and then I'll get to the questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, but we'll be closing at 7. Just a heads up. That's all.
All right. Just give me 1 minute. Oh my God, I didn't even realize. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm jumping. So after this, a lot happened. I'm just scrolling through the images. You can see how big the presentation is. I was fortunate to go to the Eddie Adams workshop and meet some extraordinary people. Win a lot of awards, meaning that the pictures have won a lot of awards. But then I got kicked out of the US because Trump got selected, became the president, and no space for artists. I guess we are a liability, maybe. Uh, so I went back to India as a failure, but did manage to work on little projects. And this is the kind of work that I'm doing right now, just using all the pictures that I took in the last 22 years, and then expressing it differently, because I don't own a camera right now, and I still have this obligation to tell stories, share stories. So this is me. All right, let's take a look at some questions.
I have a question. Mamta here.
Hey, Mamta.
Hi. So I like from your presentation, I do remember that, like, you mentioned at an age of 36, you tried to transition into your passion, right? So what do you suggest, or what do you tell out of your experience, that when someone puts in like everything into their passion and then shift their career,
Mhm.
is that really possible for them to achieve like what they were intending to?
There is no formula for this, to be honest with you, Mamta. Anyone can do it, but whether or not you're going to be successful, it depends on a lot of different things. Your own effort, of course, but how involved are you with community?
Yeah.
Right, like without ICAI volunteering there, I would not have met my team, where we formed a little collective and we started doing an exhibition. Right now, things would not have happened. Um, and I am an absolute financial failure, if you ask me, because we spent everything, lost everything financially. But I think I did some good work, and I think I became a better person
Yeah.
through all these experiences. Better husband, better father, um, but a very crappy, very crappy with money. Um, so um, yeah, I think it depends. I know a lot of this work with all your career changes, etc., especially creative process, will certainly feed your soul. But to put food on the table right now, in my experience, I think you got to have some other source of income, which can let you do the creative work. In my experience, but there are lots of others who have made it, who have really really made it.
Okay. So yes, I think this answered my questions. I was actually more inclined towards feeding the soul part
Mhm.
of it, and I'm really happy. Like I did hear what I wanted to. Thank you.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thanks for your question, Mamta.
And Santosh, I think that's also priority. Like, I think um, when money is not priority, more other, like, more important things becomes priority. And I really appreciate for that.
Mhm.
I was also wondering, like, how was your transition? Like, you have had you volunteered with ICAI, you've got opportunities through ICAI. What is that you like about ICAI, and what do you think? Um, what kind of support do you think people like you, immigrant artists and newcomers like you should? What kind of support do you expect?
To be honest, Smita, I wish I had known about ICAI before I moved to Canada. First of all, I was so surprised and gladly surprised that there is an organization that exists which is specifically focusing on supporting immigrant artists. Being an immigrant is hard enough, and then being an artist immigrant, being a BIPOC artist and an immigrant, it is crazy. So it's I think it's very niche. It's getting thinner and thinner. And then I think it is organizations like you that really make a difference, create a platform where at least I can go meet my other crazy counterparts and say hi, hello, and then maybe we can get together and do something. And I think after 4 years coming to Canada, I did volunteer at ICAI, because I gave up completely, and then that was the last thing. I was like, I'll just go say hi. This is my last attempt at doing anything creative, and then things just like rolled after that point. It was like a dominoes effect, one thing after the other. And I was like, oh my God, what did I get into? Um, and there's so much going on. And we are in a residency right now, artist residency, with our small group. And when did I volunteer with ICAI? December. And in Feb, we are in residency. So yeah, I think it's such a small community and such a fantastic supportive community that people are there to pat on your shoulder and say, hey, nothing is lost. You can do it. So I'll really say thank you, and I wish you expand really, and then there is so much more that can be done. And I think the more you involve other artists, and I don't think anyone needs to wait for 4 years to come say hi to Ike. I wish, you were present in the airport when I was, landing in Canada, and I can see, Immigrant Council for Art Innovation. I could see that. Yeah.
We're humbled, and we are really honored to work with a lot of immigrant artists and see different forms of art from all over the world. And I think we are truly honored, and we're glad that we're serving the purpose. I know, like, we are already, it's already 7, and yeah, if anybody wants to leave, feel free to. I know I don't want to keep you long, but just one last question, if nobody else has a question. What message do you have for your fellow immigrants who are artists, of course?
I think the message would be, don't give up. I think there is still hope. You don't have to be a very accomplished artist, or completely new artist, or have done so much back in your country. But if you want to be an artist, and you feel that creative urge to do stuff, just reach out. And don't wait like me for 4 years. Just reach out. There are so many of us out there, and right now we created a small little collective. As I said, we are welcoming new artists to join our group as well. So when we are taking something, I think it's important to give back too. So that's what photography has taught me, and that's what my friends in the block are there for, and we're supporting each other, and we would love to support coming artists too in whatever we can. I mean, we don't have any funding. We ourselves are looking for funding, but in guidance, or in just hanging out and discussing, and talking about art, and again, feeding the soul, I guess. Yeah.
That's so generous of you. Thank you so much. I do not see any questions in the chat. I will wait for 1 more minute. If there are any questions, please feel free to put that, and I will email that to Santosh and make sure that you get the response.
Again, sorry, I talk a lot. You would have seen that anyway. But I'll do my best to answer any of your questions. So thank you so much for joining me tonight, and I hope to talk to you again. And thank you, Smita.
Thank you so much, Santosh. You were absolutely great, and I wish we had more time to listen to all the wonderful stories and get that inspiration. You were really, really awesome, and I really wish that there was more time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody would be wishing for the same. I wish you all the best for all your endeavors that you're having now and your future ones.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And all of you have just a wonderful night and great weekend.
For making this here. Thank you, everybody who took your time from your busy Friday evening and spending us with us. Thank you so much. Wish you all a very happy weekend. I hope you remain warm and cozy. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.